Hey, Angel, thanks for joining us. What I'd love for you to share is a little bit about the impact of automation. Now, remember, we haven't taught about automation yet because that's tomorrow, but just give them a flavor for how it impacted our life, your life, family's life once we made that step. Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course. So good to see everybody here. I'll give a little bit of a back kind of story, quickly, just to take you where you're up to. But when Adrian and I met, he was trading with that $7,500 and spending a lot of time in his spare room in front of a computer all day, every day. It's amazing we ended up staying together because I hardly ever saw him. But you kind of fast forward, and when he eventually did diversify, which you hear all about today, it had a really adverse impact again. I didn't see him a lot. Then he kind of got it all working, and it was great. And then he started diversifying, and I started not seeing him again because he'd have to be up at all different hours and in front of the computer at all different times to make sure the systems were running. And the real realization came when I had organized a surprise trip away. And of course,
Everyone loves surprises.
only the ones you want, not really thinking ahead. We got to where we were going and the internet wasn't great. And at that time, if no internet, makes it a little bit hard to trade. And so it was that realization that the next real step was automating that portfolio. And it has changed the game for us completely. Trading changed our lives, but in terms of lifestyle, we are now really so free to be anywhere, to do anything, because it's all just running in a cloud.
Yeah. So what were some of the benefits you saw? I mean, you observed my trading a lot, right? And you observed my frustrations, my challenges, and so on. Obviously, we had the lifestyle benefits of not having to worry about internet so much. But what are some of the other benefits of having a well automated portfolio from your perspective, from the partner's perspective?
Taps into my passion of why I love spending so much time with traders and their psychology. The difference in, you've probably realized by now, he's actually a very calm person. And yes, he has emotions and he talks about all of that, but he's generally very calm. But the level of stress, the level of, when you always just got something in the back of your mind that you're thinking about, all of that seemed to, from my observation, really just dissipate. And the rest of the household feels that, right? Like the kids, when they were small, knew that dad had to be at home or at least in front of a computer at a certain time every day. But now no one even thinks about it. They know what happens somewhere there.
Yeah. It's such a funny transition, right? Because when I went from being in the corporate world all the time to being at home all the time, trading was easy, right? And it's okay, this is all I've got to do. And to the point where I got bored and a little bit loopy because I didn't have anything to do. That's a whole different story. But at that time, there was so much freedom compared to what I was doing that it was like happy days, celebration. But then fast forward a few years after that, and you realize there's still some residual kind of stress, and having to have that forced routine is pretty tough. And when that was lifted, oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel way calmer about my trading now. I also like that we don't have to worry about being awake to trade a certain market, and it means I can trade whatever markets I want, and I don't need to be there to watch it because the automation does it. So makes a huge difference. So what would you say, Angel, to people who might be a bit fearful of the tech? Because you've seen me deal with a lot of people on the technology side of this, and there's a bit involved in that in terms of maybe their perseverance or that sort of thing to get that done.
Look, I would say, like with anything, when you're learning, it's always challenging at first because it's all new, right? Anything that any of us have ever done when it's new is always challenging. And then you look back and you realize, wow, it's not so challenging anymore. One of the things that I work on with the members in the trader success system is really what's going on between here and here, because we often are the ones that get in our own way. When it comes to the technology, really it's about, when Adrian mentioned this yesterday, it's really about focusing and honing in on your own determination, really being connected to your goals, really being knowing why you're doing what you're doing in terms of your trading, having that level of necessity that says, I'm doing this for all of these reasons. And so, irrespective of the challenges, irrespective of maybe some learning I need to do, I know why I'm doing this and I can push through. And you guys heard from Siggy. She will always say she didn't know anything about the tech, and now she's a superstar. We've had so many different people in our community, and I really love our community and very protective of it. But everybody in that community who's been successful really had that passion, that determination, that willingness to go all in on it, and ultimately summit the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think the determination is really important, right? It's too many. I feel like a lot of people come into the markets thinking, oh, I should do this. This is something that I should do as opposed to something I want to do. And turning a should into a must and a desire is really important. And then when it comes to technology, a lot of people come to it going, oh, I'm not technical, or I don't like computers, or I always have problems, or whatever. And if you're always saying in your head, I always have tech problems, what do you think happens? Tech problems. It's a little bit of the self-talk that we've got to work on, and that's exactly why Stephanie is here and such a valuable part of the team.